Look, Nomura, I've been defending your series so far. I've been telling people how Kingdom Hearts doesn't have any spin-off games. And then you do this? Yeah, because after playing Atlantica, everyone's reaction was, man, that was fun, I'd love a rhythm game based on Kingdom Hearts. To be fair, this isn't the same. This is an actual game and not just a minigame, so let's give this a chance. If you're worried about spoilers, first off, don't be. Seriously, I won't be talking about any story-related things until the end of the review. Much like the game itself, now that I think about it. So let's start this off by talking about who this game is actually for, and who this game isn't for. This game is for hardcore fans of the series, which puts me, as a reviewer, in a difficult spot. Because if this is a game for you, you likely already have it and probably have already completed it. Matter of fact, you're probably just here to listen to other people and see how they felt about the game. If you're not a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, you probably won't care too much for this game. It's a fine rhythm game. As far as I can see anyway, I'm a Kingdom Hearts guy, not a music guy. Anyway, the main bulk of the game you're going to care about is the World Tour mode. Here, you visit worlds from previous Kingdom Hearts games, which all have a couple of songs to each world. You select your difficulty, beginner, standard or proud, and push buttons in the right timings. It's as easy as that. Sometimes you need to jump up to avoid an attack or hit an enemy. These jumps are also timed to the music, so they won't throw off your rhythm. Occasionally, instead of smacking an enemy in the face, you'll have to press the triangle button, or whatever button your console uses, to activate an ability crystal. These pretty much just let you use magic against big enemies and only really exist to prevent the game from literally just being a one-button game. Another way the game does this is by having simultaneous attacks. You see, you can attack by either using the X button, the R1 button, or the L1 button. But when you have to attack 2 or even 3 enemies at the same time, you have to press any combination of these buttons. Both of these tricks make for enough variation, at the right moments to fit with the music. More impactful beats will often have multi-hit targets. Someone at Square Enix HQ decided that wasn't enough though, and offered up to also include gliding, which now works by pressing and holding the jump button, rather than pressing the jump button twice and then holding. For this rhythm game, that does make more sense, but damn it was annoying to get over that muscle memory. And the same goes for enemies in general. After playing Kingdom Hearts for so many years, you have a certain feeling of how close an enemy needs to be to you to be inside of its range. That does not hold up in this game, and you really gotta listen to the music and keep an eye on the visual indicators to get the timing right. In the game's defense, the visual indicators are really well done, to the point where I, while talking the whole game, was able to play the game on standard mode without too much trouble. Which leads me to believe that even if you have some kind of hearing trouble, while you might not enjoy the game as much, it might still be playable for you. The attacks, even though you have next to no control over them like you would in an action RPG combat system like you've gotten used to by now, still feel very impactful. And smacking away Heartless, Nobodies, Unversed and Nightmares still feels very satisfying. The backgrounds to the levels are also generally well done. Sometimes you go into one of these dark portals that take you to another part of the world, where in other cases maps are actually stitched together to create a greater sense of connectivity within the worlds that wasn't there in the original games. I guess the black portal transitions are this game's way of loading the next portion of the background during gameplay, and while I can understand that from a technical perspective, it is just really jarring. Especially when you have all of these other examples of how you stitch together these areas, which is really cool. But that's not the worst the backgrounds get. We'll get into that later. Oh yeah, I was talking about gliding, where you follow a trail of notes in the air, oftentimes while enemies keep going on for the other two party members. This is where it becomes really difficult to keep track of everything happening on the screen. While gliding, all the notes appear on this green line. Of course, the musical notes. They are put on a line, that's how that works. But I would have liked it if staying on this line would reward you with a small continuous score bonus. Instead, it's literally only about collecting the notes, and especially in beginner mode, you have all the time in the world to fly around all over the place and still get these notes without staying on the line. You have to look where to glide, but also have to look at the enemies coming up, which at this point more or less requires you to just memorize the level to do that. Because I know for me, it wasn't possible to do otherwise. And that was on standard mode. Right, the difficulties. Beginner mode is mostly a snooze fest. And that is coming from me, and I am bad at rhythm games. Standard mode is where it's at, and honestly, Proud mode might be an even better version for most of the songs. In beginner mode, you're looking for when to hit. In standard mode, you're mostly just looking for the major beats of the music. On Proud mode, you can be pretty sure that anything that can be mapped to a button press will be, making it actually one of the more intuitive to play. It's not a matter of figuring out when to press a button, but instead figuring out what button combination to press in a split second. When you pull off some of these combos, I can't say anything except it feels amazing. After some worlds you'll get a cutscene where Kyrie recaps the story of that specific game in the most bored voice I've ever heard.
The darkness overwhelmed Sora, and he awoke in an unfamiliar town.
That's a thing in general in this game. The voice acting that's done is just really rushed and really bad. It's a real shame. Then, while you're flying around beating level after level, you run into a gate. It tells you that you need a certain amount of stars to keep going. You see, every song you play has 3 objectives. Completing these rewards you with stars, which you need to progress with the game. So it's not unlikely that you'll be grinding these stars. You'll be grinding in a rhythm game. Grinding is something that we accept in RPGs, because sometimes as a player you just skip too many fights, or maybe the game just isn't very well balanced. But in a game like this, the only reason for you to include something like this is padding. I guess if you do well enough you can unlock some gates without going through all of the worlds, which lets you speed through the game a little bit quicker. But in that case, just have the gates unlock when you either get a certain amount of stars, or complete all the worlds preceding it. You can't progress past a boss level without beating them, so you already have something in place like that. Which brings us to the boss levels. These are actually kinda fun. In reality, they don't work all that differently. It plays mostly the same, but instead the notes are coming at you from the side, and you see the boss battle playing in the background. There's also an added mechanic of having to tilt your stick in a certain direction with these yellow notes. I bet the Switch players loved that one! Alongside the bosses, there's one more kind of level that uses these mechanics, the memory dives. Really, these are just some special songs that you can play only in the track selection. And for some reason, all the worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3, which only have 1 song each. And I don't love them. Instead of taking these very nice 3D environments of the world you're in and scrolling past them as you make your way through the level, you just see some 2D video playing in the background, which can be very distracting. I honestly feel that these levels were made as a pilot, and then they just kind of forgot to make them into actual levels when they're making the rest of the game. The whole game lacks a sense of design to it. It's really just a bunch of songs thrown onto your screen. Go ahead and play them, have fun. And really, that is okay, but we're talking a full price release here. In which case, I expected a little bit more. Though, there is a lot you will be playing through here. This game has a ridiculous amount of songs, which in theory can be played in 9 different ways. You have your difficulty settings, but within the track selection menu, you also have 3 different modes. Basic, the normal way the gameplay works. Single button, taking away the one thing that makes this game feel enjoyable, but I guess it also makes it a bit easier if you want to practice a song. And performer mode, which throws in very random and hard to properly trigger extra inputs like the square button, analog sticks, R2, L2 and buttons like that. I personally think performer mode is a bit too much, but I guess it's good it's there. The game also includes a decent amount of non-Kingdom Hearts Disney songs. I would have liked to see the full soundtracks of these movies being playable, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. Before we move on to spoilers, a couple of miscellaneous things. You can play as one of 4 different teams. Team Classic, Team Days, Team 3D, which is just Riku and 2 Dream Eaters, and Team Birth by Sleep. Do they play any differently? No, of course not. Do they level up individually? Yes. Does that mean you're actively making things more difficult on yourself for no reason if you don't just stick to one of them? Yes. Then, when you go around looking in the options menu, you actually find an offset option. You can offset the music in case you may have some controller input delay, or like me, maybe you're just kinda slow sometimes and have no sense of rhythm and timing. The offset goes from -15 to +15. I'd love to tell you what those units mean, but the game doesn't do a great job communicating that. I assume it's frames, but who really knows? Getting the right offset will require a bit of trial and error either way, or just get good and ignore this option. Okay, if you don't want spoilers, that's it. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe before you leave, but as soon as 2 seconds from now, we're going to talk spoilers. Man, that Master of Masters face reveal was something else, wasn't it? I told you to leave. Okay, you've had your chance. Here we go. As I said, the game is one giant recap up until the very final level of the game, which takes about 45 or so minutes and is mostly cutscenes. So, remember all those interesting cutscenes from the trailers? Yeah, those all happen within half an hour or so of each other. Wouldn't it have been fun if Kairi's boring voice got dropped and just showed us these cutscenes during the main stories? Man, that would have been such not terrible writing, but sadly this is Kingdom Hearts in 2020, so we don't do pacing and we certainly do not do logic. So Kairi enters the final world, where she sees Xehanort. Do not worry, Xehanort isn't alive and this isn't the real final world, it's just Kairi's memories of the final world and of Xehanort. Even though this was supposed to be the end of the Xehanort saga, the English voice actor of Xehanort passed away sadly before the big climax, so they had to recast him because Xehanort was kind of a big deal. So why bring him up in this game? I know the original game is Japanese, but at this point the series is played so much more outside of Japan than inside Japan. Can we all agree that the English version is probably the one they should be worrying about? Because, you know, that's probably the one making the majority of the money? Anyway, Kairi tries to fight, but since she's Kairi, she fucks everything up. She tries to pull a Riku and re-summon her Keyblade when it gets grabbed, but of course that doesn't work because, and say it all with me, she's Kairi, and Kairi doesn't do shit. Then, when Xehanort, which mind you is just a piece of Kairi's memories of Xehanort, goes to strike her down, Kairi transforms into Sora, but without his voice. So he can send his heart to Kairi, but not his voice. Sounds like somebody didn't want to pay too many voice actors for this game. And yes, that means in a game all about Kairi, she doesn't even fight the final boss. The final boss is played as Sora. After all that, people in lab coats discussed what just happened. Ansem the Wise says all of this is beyond his comprehension and then goes to explain exactly what's going on. Or at least as exact as anything is ever explained in Kingdom Hearts. Sora is in a fictional world. So yeah, probably Verum Rex? It seems like they're really going in a meta direction with this story, and I'm kind of okay with that. To get Sora back, they need 3 keys. Kairi has the key to his memories, Riku has the key to his dreams, and the fairy godmother shows up, taking them both to the final world. Which apparently she can do! To meet the 3rd key, the nameless star we talked to in Kingdom Hearts 3, so that's not Strelitzia, but somebody else from a world where Sora is now. So assuming this star is Zora's girlfriend from the trailer we see in Toy Box? So you might be yelling at your screen right now that I'm just glossing over the fact that 2 of the keys are the 2 most important people in Sora's life, while the 3rd key is some girl, heart, star, glitter he met once. And all I can say to that is, I know, I feel your pain. So Riku fucks off into that world, Mickey freaks the fuck out when he hears about this, Yensid name drops the ancient Keyblade wielders because Nomura forgets that not everybody plays his stupid ass mobile games, and we're done. Bottom line, if this game goes on sale for half its current price, pick it up. It gives you access to pretty much any song in the Kingdom Hearts series to listen to, and even play in a variety of different ways. If you look at what all these albums would cost you, this isn't such a bad price really, but as a game? No, sorry, this game doesn't hold up to being a full price release. This game was rushed and unpolished, as much as I love Kingdom Hearts, and I actually did really enjoy this game. Like I said at the start of the video, if you're the target audience for this game, you probably already have it. If not, you should give it a try, but not for any more than $30. If you have enjoyed my review, consider subscribing to catch all my new uploads right when they happen. Like the video and let me know what you think about the game in the comments below. It really helps. Thanks for watching, I've been Vlogger, you have been awesome, as always. Bye.